Hey everyone, Andrew back again and welcome to another video, and today I'm here to finally do a response to the original versus remake tag. I actually got tagged quite a few weeks ago by Horrific Nightmares JM or Jason, so I do apologise that it's taken me so long to get around to doing a response. But yeah, here it is. So I'm going to try and get through this pretty quickly because there's 27 original and remake movies to talk about. And I'm actually going to cheat a little bit within this list as well, because there's actually two within the list that I have not seen either the original or remake to. So just to keep things interesting so I can answer everything, I'm going to interchange them with a couple of other films that I have seen. So yeah, with that being said, let's get started. So movie number one is the Amityville Horror, and I definitely prefer the remake to the original. I find the original to be kind of boring. I don't think it's aged very well, and I really like the remake a lot more. The next one we have is Black Christmas. Pretty easy for me. The remake's pretty good, but the original's an absolute classic, so I'm going to have to go with the original. Next is Dawn of the Dead. Now, the remake I think is absolutely awesome. It's one of the better remakes out there for sure, but again, like Black Christmas, the original is such a classic, one of the best zombie films ever made, so I'm definitely going to have to go with the original. Number 4 is The Evil Dead. This is actually a little bit more tricky for me because I'm a massive fan of the remake. I think the remake is really good, and I would probably put it on par with the original actually. So yeah, this one's kind of tricky. I like both of them the same pretty much. The original is an absolute classic, but I think the remake is really awesome. So yeah, I kind of put them on par with each other. Next is The Fog. Now, I've never seen the remake. I've heard really terrible things, so I've stayed well away from it. And the original is my second favourite Carpenter movie of all time. I love it. So honestly, I can pretty much safely say the original for this one. Next up we have Friday the 13th parts 1 through 3 versus the remake. I hate the remake. I think it's absolutely terrible. It basically has everything I despise about modern horror. It's too polished looking. I really don't like the whole sort of drug and partying aspect to the film as well, and I think a lot of the kills are pretty mediocre. There were some missed opportunities there, so yeah, not a fan of the remake, but parts 1 through 3 are absolutely amazing. Next up we have Fright Night, and I've seen the original, really like the original, and I have also seen the remake, and I definitely prefer the original a lot more. Number 8 is Halloween. Gee, I wonder what my answer is for this one. Obviously, of course, it's the original. It's my favourite horror movie of all time. But with that being said, I love the remake, actually. I really like the way Rob Zombie did it. But yeah, you cannot go past the original Halloween. There's just nothing that beats that. Number 9 is The Hills Have Eyes. I definitely prefer the remake over the original. 10 times better. I think the remake is absolutely phenomenal. So yeah. Number 10 is The Hitcher. Now, I actually have not seen the remake, but similar to The Fog, I absolutely love the original movie with Rutger Hauer. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And where's a Blu-ray release? That movie really needs a Blu-ray release. But anyway, I think I can pretty much safely say the original for The Hitcher, even though I haven't seen the remake. If anyone has seen the remake, I haven't really heard too much about it, honestly, but if you've seen it and you think it's worth checking out, let me know. Now, the next two I have not seen either the original or remakes to, so I'm going to interchange them. So the original one on the list was House of Wax, so I haven't seen either, so I'm going to change that out with Children of the Corn. I'm going to go with the original Children of the Corn. I love that movie, and the remake is god awful. It is terrible, one of the worst remakes that I have ever seen. The next one is House on Haunted Hill. Again, I haven't seen the original remake, so I'm going to interchange that with Maniac. I'm going to go with the remake for Maniac. As of right now, the remake to Maniac is my favourite remake of all time. I just absolutely love what they did with the movie. It's shot entirely in POV style pretty much, and I really, really like that. It's very, very brutal. It has an amazing soundtrack and some really good acting. So I love the original, don't get me wrong. I think it's a great character study, and it's just really gritty and grimy, but I just love the remake even more. Okay, back to the official list now. So next up we have I Spit on Your Grave, and I'm going to have to go with the remake for this one as well. The thing that I definitely prefer about the remake over the original is the fact that they focus more on the revenge part of the film than they did in the original film, which I prefer. The remake has some absolutely brutal and amazing revenge sequences. The next one is The Last House on the Left. Now, surprisingly, I haven't seen the original film in a really, really long time, and I don't really remember too much about it. But I do remember, and it's been a while since I've seen the remake as well, but I remember really, really liking the remake, so I guess I'm going to have to go with the remake for that one as well. Next up we have My Bloody Valentine, and a lot of you probably already know that the original is my favourite 80s standalone slasher film. It's just absolutely amazing in every way, so I'm going to have to go with the original. But with that being said, I think the remake is really, really good as well. Next up we have Night of the Living Dead, the original black and white version or the 90s coloured remake. I'm actually going to have to go with the 90s remake on this one. To be completely honest, I'm not a massive fan of the original film. I do respect it. Obviously, it was pretty much the granddaddy of the genre. However, I definitely prefer the 90s remake for this one. Next up, we have A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original all the way. Now, I'm not a massive fan of the franchise in general. However, the original movie is an absolute classic. It's fantastic, and the remake is just absolutely terrible. So yeah, definitely easily the original for that one. Next up we have the Omen. Now, I'm not really a massive fan of the Omen, to be completely honest. I've only seen it once, and I think it's okay, but it's definitely not really my type of film, and I have seen the sequel as well, which again was just okay, so I'm not really a massive fan of The Omen. I have seen the remake, and the remake was terrible, so I guess I'm going to have to go with the original for that one. Sorry about the cut here, my camera ran out of memory. Now, back to the list. So, next up we have Poltergeist, and I'm definitely going to have to go with the original for this one. Again, to be completely honest, I'm not a massive fan of this film, but the original is a lot better than the remake. So, next up we have Psycho, and I'm definitely going to have to go with the original for this one. The remake, which I've only seen once, and as everyone knows, it's a shot-for-shot remake. I think that's one of the most pointless remakes out there. So the original is an absolute classic. It definitely helped the slasher genre. It's a proto-slasher, and it's just absolutely classic. So yeah, easily the original. Next up we have The Stepfather, and this is another one that I have not seen the remake to. I've heard pretty mediocre things about it, and I absolutely love the original, so yeah, I'm going to go with the original. Next up we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, I'm not a fan of the remake. I think it's too polished. I'm not a fan of the characters all that much. I don't really like the look of Leatherface mask. It's got a really plasticky look to it, and I'm just not a big fan of it, but I absolutely love the original. It's my second favourite horror movie of all time, so very easily the original for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Next up is When a Stranger Calls. I'm actually going to have to go with the remake for this one. I really like the remake. I like the characters in it. I really like the look of the house, the setting. I thought it was really well done. And I'm not a fan of the original. The beginning of the original movie is good, but then to me it just gets really boring. So yeah, but I really like the remake. Next up we have Carrie, and this is an interesting one because I like the original film, however I think it's kind of dated now, and I really like the remake as well. So this was kind of tricky, and I'm probably going to do a bit of a cop-out here and pretty much put them on par with each other, to be honest. You know, there's some aspects of the original that I prefer, and then there's some aspects of the remake that I prefer. Next up we have The Fly. I'm definitely going to have to go with the Cronenberg remake. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, the remake to The Fly. Then we have Prom Night. Prom Night is another one that I think is pretty mediocre, but I'm going to have to go with the original. I still think the original's mediocre, but it is better than the remake. And last but certainly not least, we have It. And I can 100% hands down say that I prefer the remake. 10 times better. Everything is so much better within the remake. I'm not really a big fan of the original TV miniseries. I don't think it's held up very well whatsoever. The characters are a lot better in the remake. Pennywise looks a lot better. So yeah, I absolutely love the It remake. Alrighty, so there you go. That was my response to the original versus remake tag. Once again, Jason, thanks for tagging me, and I do apologise that it's taken me so long to get around to doing a response, but better late than never. I'm going to tag a couple of people. I'm going to tag Andrew's Crypt and Retro Horror. So what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to leave the list of movies in the description box, and if you guys feel like doing a response to this, that would be awesome. And to anyone else that's watching this video, and if you feel like doing a response, I'm going to leave it open to pretty much everyone. But yeah, Andrew's Crypt and Retro Horror, if you guys could do a response to this, that would be awesome. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.